Assassin's Creed, here you can see Niccolo Machiavelli, who is one of the most famous philosophers and kind of theorists of Renaissance life. He talked a lot about the power structures in the Renaissance. And so he's one of the characters in the game. You can see Ezio Auditore, who's the imaginary protagonist that we created, talking to Machiavelli. And so players, by playing the game, learn about Machiavelli. And then the guy on the right is Thomas Hobbes. He created some of the most powerful philosophy about how human beings interact and about our drives and our desires. And Far Cry 3 is about him. So every time that I write a game, I'm trying to fill it with as much meaning as possible. So it's not just my thoughts about stuff. It's not just about interacting with the game. It's about teaching players about the world. And I didn't just pull that out of Wikipedia or out of surfing the internet randomly. I grew up studying English literature. I read everything that I could possibly read. I went to as many plays as I could possibly go to. I spent the weekends watching movies. I studied things like People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn, which is an incredible book that you will all read probably at some point in your education if you haven't read it yet, which is about looking at history from different viewpoints. And so education was very important to me, and it really has formed the framework with which I'm able to interact with games and try to create meaning. I mean, I think that as an artist, my job is to try to learn as much as I possibly can and then convey it to people. And I think if you want to go this route and want to create art, that's a good goal, because if you have the time and you're being paid to research and to do things like that, then it's your duty to take that and give it back to the community and to people. This is really dark on here. I'm sorry. It's a screenshot from Limbo. I don't know if anyone's played that game. I can see it on the computer screen, but there's a box here. Anyway, this is a level from Limbo. And so I put this up here, which is an indie game made, a really wonderful indie game if you haven't played it. But the point of this is that we're really at the beginning of exploring a new art. And so it's not the same thing as like if you were a banker, you can intern at a bank, or if you are in film, you can intern with a director and you learn how to do things. We don't have that because we're really at the beginning. Again, we're in the caveman stage. So we're all just trying to help each other out in game development, and it's like wandering around one of these dark levels, trying to figure out what's going on. And so you really be at the forefront of exploration if you're working in video games, and everyone's just trying to help each other out, and you have to work together. Because what I've learned is that we don't really know anything yet. And we're developing a new language of communication. Like all the things I talked about at the beginning with film, like all those things we talked about that were missing from that first movie, like cuts and color and sound and all of that, is a language. You know, a movie like Schindler's List, where you have the little girl in red and everyone else is in black and white, that color means something. He used the technique to mean something. And I don't know if anyone saw Source Code, but there's a shot where everyone's frozen in place and the camera kind of moves around everyone frozen in place at one of the last moments of his life. That technique was developed by commercials to like sell soda. And then he took it and he made it incredibly meaningful. And so you have to use the language of techniques to create stuff. And right now we're trying to develop those techniques, that language. So my worries for the future are this. Basically, the game industry is like focused on this right now, and it's like all on the hardware. You know, imagine if when you went to a movie, you were like, oh, this is filmed with this kind of camera, and that's why I'm seeing it, because it's got this camera. That's not about meaning at all. And it's about consumerism. It's saying, buy a new console, buy this, buy that, focus on buying these devices, and the content will come later. I think that's a bad approach. You know, all of you should be out there searching for meaningful experiences, and that can come from something like Limbo, or something like Braid, or something, which is another indie game, or something like Fez. And Fez has like 8-bit graphics almost. So it doesn't need to be cutting-edge technology to be meaningful, and life is too short to waste your time with anything less than that, in my opinion. I think you guys can be the saviors of that future. If you go out there trying to seek real experiences and real meaning and to convey it to people, then you'll end up creating art. And that's what we're trying to do. And the hardest part will be that very few people in the industry really want that. A lot of people are in it for money. They will try to compromise your ideals. They'll try to convince you that they're right, and they'll try to tell you that the best thing to do is just make a copy of another game and make lots of money doing that. And you have to fight that. I mean, all the people in this room can help each other when you're out in the world. You search for people that care about your passion. And really, you should try to make something that's true and that's beautiful and that isn't centered around money, but is centered around meaning. And if you do that, then I'm hoping that games will evolve to something meaningful like Hugo or like the Hunger Games, where they're conveying complex emotions that help our society as a whole to evolve. You know, I think that games can be a medium that does that they can speak to people. So that's it. And the last little thing I'll add is if you do that, if you evolve them to that state, then you'll be up here giving this presentation. You'll be talking about how Assassin's Creed was like the beginning in the Stone Age.
Thank you, Jeffrey. I think we have time for 2 questions. Are the mics out and about? There's one mic there. I see a hand. And there's another hand there. Maybe if you can get the lady in front of you. Those can be the 2. We have one in the back. Please stand up, please. Switch it on the bottom. Stand up, please. Tell us your name and where you're from before you ask the question.
Hello. Oh, hi. My name is Mary Leach. I'm with the Horror Films Pre-College Program. And I wanted to ask you, how do you make it look so realistic? Like when it first came on, I thought it was like a movie skit or something like that.
That's all the tech side. So it's we've been developing that in tandem with the film industry, using support from movies, but it's CGI, and that technology is there. The next generation of consoles is going to look like that in game, and it's so difficult to develop games. It's really, you know, it's a huge group of people working in concert to create something, and a lot of times when you're developing a game, the technology isn't even working until the end. And so it's like if you're trying to dance and your dance partner can't dance until the very end of the dance, but somehow it's going to work out anyway. It's very complicated, and the logistics of developing all this have been what's held games back for a while, I think.
Yeah, you did a very good job.
Oh, thank you. Ever since I was little, she said, how did you get involved in the video game industry? When I grew up in school, I was installing video games on my school computers with the teachers. You know, at lunch, I would install video games and I would watch people play. And for me, it was always incredibly interesting to, you know, I'd go home, I'd play a game, and then I'd bring it to school the next day and I'd see what my friends thought of it. I started writing scripts for games in 3rd grade. I've just always felt like they are more powerful. Like, I felt like there was someone in the console when I was playing a great game, that I was having a conversation with a developer, and I wanted to create that feeling in others.
We have time for one last question. We'll take the gentleman in the back, but again, before we do, I want to remind you, Jeffrey will be around all afternoon. I'm sure there's many more questions. I see a lot of hands. Please feel free to come up to him one-on-one. So we'll take the last question in the back before we move on.
Hi, my name is Terrence Bonet from the Cooper Hewitt Foundation, and I wanted to know, when you got frustrated while you were designing the game for the levels, what did you do? Did you want to give up? Was there something motivating you behind it, or did you just do it because it was something, your passion, it was something that you felt that you needed to accomplish?
When I was designing the game for what?
For Assassin's Creed.
For me, there was a powerful meaning in Brotherhood, which was about Machiavelli's philosophy and teaching people that the world may knock you down, but that you have to get back up, and eventually, if you're strong and stick to your ideals, you can become a leader. That's what the game was about. And so whenever I got frustrated or upset, I would return to that. And to me, that message to people that you have to, using what Machiavelli learned in his incredible thinking about leadership, conveying that message to everyone so that, in your daily life, you could say, oh, I had a terrible day at school today, but you know what? I'm going to go back and I'm going to approach this differently like Ezio did in Brotherhood, and maybe it will help. And to me, that was more important than any little frustration I could have.
Thanks, Jeff. Could you give him one more round of applause? That was an amazing presentation. And now I want to play Assassin's Creed more than ever.